Welcome to a new video on the photography minimalist. I've been having a lucky streak over the past few days, and that does not happen very often anymore. Just 2 days ago, I was able to buy that Russian lens, the Tair 133mm 2.8, which turned out to be a great buy. So I thought I would try my luck again, and yesterday I visited another thrift store. And I was able to make two new interesting buys. A Canon AE-1 and also a Minolta XG2. Now I have quite a history with Canon and also a love and hate relationship. It all started in 1983. Before that I was still using my Pentax K1000, which I still own. And in 1983 I decided to step over to Canon. And at that time, we still had the Dutch guilder as a currency, and Germany had their Deutschmark. And because people paid less sales tax in Germany, all types of electronic equipment, including cameras, were less expensive. So I traveled over with my girlfriend, who is now my wife, by bus to Düsseldorf in 1983 to do some shopping, and for me personally, to pick up a Canon AE-1 body, which I did. And after that, I added on a few lenses and kept on working with Canon for quite a few years. And that exact same camera body I sold 2 years ago, regretfully. And about a year ago, I found a Canon AE-1 camera body on the local eBay in the Netherlands, which is called Marktplaats. I still have it here. And the seller promised me that it was in working condition. So I bought it for 35 euros, thinking, well, then at least I have the camera body back again. And I received a non-working camera body, which was totally frustrating, and I never received a response from the seller to solve this issue. So this is a camera, it was just a waste of money. And I was completely surprised yesterday to find this Canon AE-1 together with a 50mm 1.8 SC lens. That's exactly the same lens as I had on the Canon F1 and the video I put out, I think it's about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And these cameras do not work without a battery. And the battery in this camera was dead. So I explained to the seller of this thrift store, for me this is a risk to buy because it could be the battery, but it could also be that the camera is not in working condition. I mean, personally, I've already had that experience. And I was amazed that the seller asked 15 euros for this camera, including the lens. And that's a risk that I'm willing to take. So I bought this Canon AE-1 with a standard 50mm 1.8 SC lens for 15 euros. And it also came with the original lens cap and also with a UV filter and a lens shade. When I bought the other Canon a year ago, I purchased a new battery to see if it would work, which again was a waste of money, but I still had the battery, of course. I took out the battery, replaced the old battery of this Canon, and lo and behold, it immediately worked without any issue whatsoever. So here I have a working Canon AE-1 with a 50mm lens for only 15 euros. And for me, that's also a keeper because of the history that I have with this specific Canon camera. And I was looking around further in the shop and I came across this Minolta XG2, and it had a very typical lens, different lens. It's a Panagor wide angle 28mm 2.5. I knew of this lens before. It's not a great lens, but it is an interesting lens to use, and I like using a wide angle lens. And also this camera was not working because the batteries were dead. And maybe I paid a little bit too much for this camera, but he asked 20 euros and I said, that's fine. Right, so here we are, two cameras. I did not have batteries for this camera. So I went over to Hans today from the Fotovakhuis in Haarlem, and he put in 2 new batteries for me, and it did give some issues with regards to the shutter release button and the shutter speeds. And Hans is an expert with regards to repairing cameras, and he immediately knew what the problem was. So he fixed the shutter release button for me, and there it is, Hans, 1/30th of a second, working perfectly. So Hans was able to repair this camera in only 5 minutes. It has new batteries and it is in full working condition. Thank you, Hans. And that's why I always say, buy locally, that's where you get your service. So all in all, I have 2 cameras here, the Canon AE-1 and the Minolta XG2, both which I purchased for only 35 euros. So let's say that's roughly $41. That's a steal. I decided that I'm going to make a video on the Canon AE-1, as I do have a lot of history with this camera, and I'm really glad to have a working camera back again. And this camera here I'm going to put up for sale. I am going to make a video first, but after that I'm going to be selling this camera. This camera is going to be a keeper for me, because I will never be able to get such a nice example back again for only 15 euros. Well, as you see, I've hit the jackpot over the past few days. Let me also show you some photos which I made with the Tair 133mm 2.8 on my Kodak DCS Pro 14N, a full-frame digital camera from back in the day, just to give you a feel for what this lens is capable of. And I will be using this lens also, of course, with a roll of film, and then I'm going to be using it on my Asahi Pentax SP1000, in which I put a roll of foam upon 100. So I'll be showing you those images in a later video. Enjoy the few photos that I made with the Tair. Thanks for watching, greatly appreciate it. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you next time.